The Kliq owns this business.
Coming down the aisle, Bimbo, Jimbo, Baby Huey.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop. Give me a hell yeah.
Today, I've got the style and profile like never before. It's showtime! Woo!
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of In The Kliq. I'm Baby Huey, and joined by, once again, my tag team partner for this week, Philip from the Bullet Cast. What's up, Philip?
What's going on, Baby Huey? I'm doing fine. I have the championship of record, as Jimbo used to like to say about the WWE title, the Bullet Cast Championship, the #1 title in podcasting. This Sunday, it's on the line for WWE Extreme Rules, the horror show. And I think you're getting in on those. Am I correct? Getting in on those predictions?
I think so. I think it's been long overdue for me to participate in your predictions. I'm a big fan of what you guys been doing. So for anyone who's new listening, so yeah, you like to do predictions for all the major pay-per-views, and yeah, you put that pretty title on the line, and the winner with the most wins gets to claim it for X amount of time period until the next pay-per-view predictions. Am I right?
Absolutely. Guys, if Baby Huey wins, he will become the 5th man to hold the Bullet Cast Championship. Obviously, there's me and my co-host Brandon, and 2 other gents have held it. Okay. But, you know, there's never been anybody that has the Tower of Power like Baby Huey.
So it's a very prestige honor, a small class to own or to use to have that title. So I feel very honored. So I feel, yes, okay, I will get in on it this time around. And yeah, my fingers are crossed I can pull off a big victory, be the inaugural champion for myself. I'm looking forward to that. But yes, once again, everyone, thank you again for tuning in to In The Kliq. As always, make sure to follow us and subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We have all the links posted on our social media pages. You can follow us at In The Kliq on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember, subscribe to In The Kliq on YouTube. We've been posting all of our segments from our latest episodes up there. So please subscribe, take a listen, share the wealth, and also, yeah, leave a comment on Apple Podcasts. We all love any extra help from you guys, from the Kliqsters out there. We appreciate it. And also, just thank you again to all the Kliqsters who've been commenting and giving me a lot of great feedback on just this, quote, new era of the podcast from the last month. Getting a lot of feedback from people just loving what we've been doing. And even a lot of people have been saying they've been loving what you and Philip and I have been doing as far as kind of doing these individual specific episodes just cater to AEW. And once again, this week we'll do the same thing. We're going to talk about AEW Fight for the Fallen, another specialty version of AEW Dynamite this week. So as always, we'll start out like we've been doing, kind of treating this as like a pay-per-view review. We'll start with our initial takeaways, what we like and didn't like about the show, and then we'll break down the individual card and the matches from there. So, Philip, let's just, go out and start big. Just give me your initial thoughts, reaction to last night's episode of AEW Fight for the Fallen.
Well, overall, it was very good. There are some things that we talked about last week that kind of started to happen a little bit when we talk about the Elite versus Jurassic Express. I'm upset because our good buddy Chris Jericho got juiced. Yeah, the demo god didn't deserve that, ladies and gentlemen. He's teaching us about ratings. Show him some respect.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really enjoyed this episode of AEW. And here's the thing, man. I think we're getting a little spoiled now as far as fans go. The last 3 weeks now, last 3 episodes, it's been, I feel like, the super juice, no pun intended, super size edition of AEW Dynamite. These are not pay-per-view per se that we will watch on the weekend, but the quality of the matches and the bookings and the matchups are stuff we would see on a pay-per-view special, but instead we're just getting them for free on TNT Wednesday nights, during AEW Dynamite. I really love this. And so I don't know about you, but like when next week rolls around, when it's back to just a regular episode of AEW Dynamite, I'm going to be like, oh man, like I feel like I'm going to be like missing out. Like I feel like, yeah, between the last 2 weeks of AEW's, oh my God, I'm spacing, Fighter Fest, the last couple weeks of AEW Fighter Fest, and then this week, Fight for the Fallen. I've been loving, like they said, these specialty editions of AEW Dynamite. So when next week's back to a regular episode, I'll be like, oh man, I feel like we've been in this nice like party, what's the word I'm trying to think of? You know, it's been just a fun ride for the last few weeks. So, but yeah, I'm with you. I really enjoyed the show. It was action packed, great matches. And yeah, let's go down the card and just kind of break it all down. So the opening match for tonight, which I was a little surprised by. I thought that might be something maybe later on in the show, but I figured they want to start with a bang and get one of the most over guys in the company, our buddy Cody, as TNT champion with Arn Anderson in his corner, taking on Sonny Kiss. And Philip, just your thoughts on this match for AEW.
Well, it was very good. You know, Sonny Kiss did his entrance with the Jacksonville Jaguar cheerleaders, and Cody, he was really playing the heel in this match. He opens up the contest with a disaster kick to Sonny Kiss, and he was just more aggressive and more treacherous than he normally is in his matches when he's defending the TNT championship. And yeah, I mean, this was a great showing from Sonny. I mean, I really haven't seen any of his stuff. Like I haven't sought out his indie work. Mm-hmm. I probably should, now that I saw how great of an athlete and a competitor the young man is. But it was fun, man. You know, Sonny almost got the job done. I think he used the crossroads at one point in time, tried to beat Cody with his own move. But all in all, the American Nightmare, he keeps the championship of America's Greatest Network.
Yes. And yeah, I agree with you. Very fun opening match. And I know initially when they announced Cody was going to be defending the TNT championship, once again, like an open challenge for Fight for the Fallen. And then I think within a few days, they announced it was going to be Sonny Kiss. And so there was a lot of people, giving their takes on this whole situation. And for me, I was really happy to see Sonny Kiss get this opportunity just because he's been wrestling more, I believe, on AEW Dark and hasn't got a lot of major screen time on Dynamite in its existence thus far as a television show. So for him, I think hands down, this was the biggest match of his time so far with AEW. So I was really excited for him to get this opportunity. And yeah, I think he knocked it out of the park, just showing his athleticism. The guy is extremely talented. And yeah, I enjoyed the opening as far as when he came out to the ring with dancing with the Jacksonville Jaguar cheerleaders. Very similar to, I believe he did that last year as well for the first ever Fight for the Fallen last summer. So like he's kind of keeping the tradition going. So that might be something moving forward. Maybe every year he's going to like step up his presentation coming out to the ring for if he has a match book for the night. And for Cody, to his credit, I think what I've been enjoying so far is he's very much treating that TNT championship like the working man's championship. He's going out there doing these open challenges and he's competing every week. So it's very much, if you want to call like what I think the IC title in WWE has represented for a lot of people over the years, it's like the working man's championship. So for Cody, I really respect that that's what he's kind of doing, thus winning it back at Double or Nothing. So for the last 6 weeks, he's pretty much been defending it every week, except for a couple weeks he's had various time off. But yeah, for him to come out and work this match with Sonny Kiss, it was a great match. And like the other thing too with Cody, with these matches, he's been really, the people he's been wrestling, it's been a variety of like young upcoming talent. So I think for Cody, it's been a great showcase to show the great talented people that he has on the AEW roster. As far as even, surprise debut of Ricky Starks, who we know from NWA Power, to wrestling one of the guys from Private Party, Sonny Kiss here. So I think it's just really cool. Cody, who's, obviously an established, well-loved veteran in the wrestling business for, decade and a half. So for him to give this opportunity and use his platform and his name to wrestle these young upcoming talents, to give them some exposure, I think that's really cool from Cody.
No, yes, absolutely. I mean, he's wrestling all these younger talents, but then at the end of the day, they're not beating him because obviously the experience that Cody has and the tutelage that his father and all these other greats have passed on to him. I mean, he has Arn, the coach, in his corner, so he's using all that knowledge to gain these victories. But what I want to know is why was Tully Blanchard really eyeing this match?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. That's something I wanted to get into. So, I'll just say real quick, just to kind of wrap up for the match itself. So I just felt like kind of like the first half, they were kind of still feeling each other out, trying to get their chemistry going. There was, I think, one spot, Sonny missed like his cue. I think like, Cody was going to like pull him out of the corner and Sonny didn't come out right away. But I think like the second half of the match, that's where things really got going. And they really were on the same page, bouncing off each other. And it turned to a really hard hitting athletic match. And as you said, Cody, like I felt was like a little bit working a little heelish out of the two. I mean, they're both baby faces technically, but Cody out of the two of them was working a little bit more aggressive, a little more darker, if you want to call it that, like a little more, heelish, I guess maybe it might be a better word. So yeah, it was interesting to watch that. And I think, even like, didn't he kind of brush off Arn at one point? Or, I'm trying to remember exactly, but so they're laying the foundation, or excuse me, they're laying the seeds for, maybe Cody has something up his sleeve. And yeah, as you mentioned, Tully Blanchard was sitting there kind of very focused on the match and eyeing what's going on. And kind of the buzz for the last few days online and the dirt sheet is there something going to happen pretty soon in AEW with Cody Rhodes? He did an interview within the last couple of days talking about not so much bringing back like a new generation of the Four Horsemen, but maybe a 4-man group, very much in the style of a Four Horsemen. And so that got people kind of questioning, what's going to go on? Is Cody going to turn heel and start a new faction? Going back to his promo a few weeks ago, where he had, he put the 4 fingers up, during his interview. And then you see guys like FTR flashing the four finger gesture at Tully Blanchard later on the night. So it's very interesting. So I guess, Phil, let me just ask you this: do you think Cody should or will launch like his own version of the Four Horsemen?
I mean, I think he should do something like that, because you look at it, the American Nightmare, the son of the American Dream. How apropos would it be for him to align himself with a Horseman in Arn and then another Horseman in Tully and create a quasi Horseman faction? I mean, I think what you could do, you could have Sean Spears, because he's already with Tully. You have Cody with Arn. Mm-hmm. Bring in the FTR, sure, and they got kind of buddy with Hangman Page last night. We're gonna talk about that. If you have 5 of them, I think that's okay. And kind of like the Horsemen, they were all together, like cutting promos, but they all did their own thing. Tully and Arn, they were the tag champs. Flair was the world champion. Wyndham, he was, like a television champion or a U.S. champion or whatever, and he had his little singles feuds, but they came together to jump guys and stuff like that. So I think that's okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So I'm kind of torn on this situation. As far as when Cody first, announced that Arn was going to be like his coach, I was a little taken back because, listen, we all love and respect Arn Anderson. He's one of the all-time greats, but theoretically, he was a longtime member of the Four Horsemen, and Cody, his dad, Dusty, was like kind of what do you call it? Like he was
he was the target.
Yeah, it was Dusty versus the Four Horsemen for a long period of time, and that was one of the greatest storylines in pro wrestling history. So it just, for me, it felt just a little awkward to see Cody aligning himself with a member of a faction that was always going after his dad. So that's why I was a little objected to that idea. But then I was like, let's see how this plays out. And it's been interesting, Arn in, quote, the coach role, aka just like a manager. It's been interesting seeing him out there. And then, part of me is now like these latest rumors that Cody wants to maybe start like his own Four Horsemen, which to me is a little interesting because Cody's kind of already done that, similar, he was a member of the Bullet Club, but even though the Bullet Club's like, a huge faction of double digit members. And he's also a member of the Elite. And so he's already done that.
I think what he wants is he wants to be the leader. I mean, the reason why the Bullet Club had the Civil War was because he wanted to be the leader. And Kenny's the leader. And the Elite, Kenny and the Bucks are basically the leader. Yeah. So that's really what he wants. And I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what they're going to call it because he has his Nightmare thing going with the Nightmare family. Yeah. And, that extends to like QT and apparently Allie and Brandy. They're the Nightmare sisters. And you have Dustin, with the Natural Nightmares with QT. So maybe he'll break away from that too and just do something completely different.
Well, so that's what I was thinking is, I saw like a Twitter thread last night and there's a lot of people speculating what different combinations could this faction be, the lineup can be for this potential. I keep saying new generation Four Horsemen because that's what just everyone's labeling it. I mean, who knows? Like they might have an individual name. Like I think for in their best interest, they probably should not call it the Four Horsemen. I just think that's their own thing from the 80s and 90s. They should call it something different if they do launch a 4-person group.
I think WWE owns the trademark, I would assume.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. I was wondering about that. So whatever it may be. So like Cody, I was thinking like, okay, who can it be? It's like, okay, he's with Arn and Tully obviously have their history as tag team / members of the Four Horsemen. So if they were to partner up, so would it be Cody and Shawn Spears aligning themselves? And then, you could easily just bring in FTR because they get the comparisons of just like they just look and act like the old school Arn Anderson, Tully Blanchard tag team. So that could be your 4 right there. But I'm kind of confused because Cody and Shawn Spears had that rivalry last year. Remember Shawn hit Cody over the head with the chair and made him bled. So like a year later, they're on the same page. I don't know if I finally fully buy in on that.
Hey. Austin shook McMahon's hand at X7.
True. That's true.
All right. So here's something I think they could do. Remember when Brandy was cutting people's hair?
Yeah.
Yeah, they called that the Nightmare Collective.
Yeah.
That's what you could call this new group.
Yeah.
That's a possibility.
I was thinking maybe, he can like officially have the Nightmare family. I mean, I guess Cody's been using that more just reference to everyone that's like in his camp. So as you said, it's his brother, it's his wife, it's all these people who are like family and friends of Cody Rhodes is this Nightmare family. But maybe he can legit have a faction just called that, and that could be like the main stable on TV. But then I know some people were saying, well, maybe instead of Shawn Spears, you could have Hangman Page. Because if you think about it, like as you said, FTR, not to jump ahead to later in the show, but we saw FTR getting drinks with Hangman Page. So it's like, well, maybe they're trying to line themselves with him. So could it be Cody and Hangman Page and FTR as a group? I don't know. I mean, I think Hangman Page needs to be like a lone wolf and do his own thing. And who knows? Maybe that could be it. Maybe that could be like Hangman Page could be, I heard some people call him like he could be this generation Stone Cold Steve Austin, like this lone wolf who just goes out and kicks ass against all the bad guys. So maybe he could be that, and then maybe he could be the one to take on Cody's new faction if it, like hypothetically speaking, it does turn into that. So I don't know. I don't know about you, but like I'm still on the fence about Shawn Spears in general. Like he doesn't totally do it for me yet. Like he hasn't really like wowed me with everything he's been doing on AEW. I mean, I don't know. His theme music is okay. He kind of walks slow to the ring. I don't know. I'm not fully in on this gimmick for him thus far in his time in AEW. So I don't know. Like, part of me is like, maybe him being a faction could help spicing things up a little bit, but I don't know. I was kind of trying to think of maybe someone else to take the role that Sean Spears is thinking everyone wants him to be in. I don't know. Is there any other possible combination of people you think Cody should? Let's say, okay, if it's Cody, FTR, is who else besides Sean Spears can be that fourth spot?
I don't know, man.
I know it's
you have to look at it like guys who fit the old school wrestling. I don't want to say moniker, but fit the style of old school wrestling. You know,
yeah.
FTR, they fit it 100%. Cody, that's what he grew up on.
Yeah.
The best person that fits it is Spears. I'm sorry to say it. I mean, I like him. I don't know if you know this, but he's a perfect 10.
Very true.
So, I mean, he's doing better. He has the loaded black glove, and that's seeming to work out well for him. So I think he started off hot. When he hit Cody over the head with the chair, they had their match, but he hasn't really been doing much. He had the little hiccup at Double or Nothing and the Tully being on his underwear or whatever. But he's getting his head back in the game, and that's really what he needed.
So I was just gonna say, I'm just kind of curious how this potential heel turn is going to happen. And that's the other thing that kind of bums me out on the idea of this, because Cody, he's so over right now with just the fans and his position with the company. So I kind of feel, I don't know if I'm really going to be on board him turning heel. It really would break my heart. But then again, let's be honest, Cody, some of his best work has been a heel over the years, either in WWE or New Japan, Ring of Honor. Even on the independent scene, some of his best work is as a heel. So I think maybe for him, maybe he enjoys being a heel. So this is a way of kind of tapping back into that and just starting a new heel faction in AEW. And it'll get people talking too. But I'm just curious, what route is he going to take to get there? Does he turn on Arn? But that'd be interesting. He turns on Arn to launch a 4 Horsemen of his own. So I don't know. It's interesting. And that's the other thing too. People keep saying 4 Horsemen, but like we've seen other factions of 4 people, like, Evolution, one of your favorites. I mean, so it's like,
there you go.
So that's the thing. It's like, I don't know why people keep saying 4 Horsemen. I guess technically that was a faction that started outside of WWE. So maybe that's why people rather use that term instead of saying Evolution. Evolution, it's more known in the last 20 years, and that's a full-on WWE created entity right there. So I don't know. It'll be yet to be seen what's going to happen. I'm curious what's going to happen, but they've been dropping clues, and a big clue that we saw was in the second match of the night. It was FTR taking on the Lucha Brothers in a match that probably was one of my most anticipated ones. I was looking forward to the most that night. Philip, what was your thoughts on this match?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week. I was like, I'm really looking forward to this, but it was fine. It was good, the styles of the Lucha Bros, who were high flyers, and Harwood and Wheeler, who are just straight shooters. It really worked well. I did enjoy the finish, how Harwood rips off the mask of Phoenix and rolls him up. It keeps the Lucha Bros not looking strong, but it doesn't really hurt them because they didn't lose clean, so to speak. And I like how Excalibur said if that had happened in Mexico, it'd be an immediate disqualification, but not here in the States.
Yeah,
I really did like that part. And Harwood and Wheeler, they move on because wins and losses really do matter in AEW. So they rack up another win there, and I think it worked out for everyone.
Yeah, it's been really interesting thus far seeing FTR's presentation so far. They're very much like tweeners in between. They kind of have like baby face tendencies, obviously kind of line themselves with the Young Bucks, or at least be on the same page for the most part. But yet at the same time, they kind of do these heelish tactics in the ring, as we saw with the finish, ripping off Ray's mask and doing a quick roll up right there. So it's interesting to see how they progress. Are they going to keep leaning more towards the heel side of things, or just going to be more in the middle and just kind of do whatever they want? It doesn't matter who it is, if it's a babyface or a heel that they take out. like you said, they're doing their own thing. But yeah, I enjoyed this match as far as it really was the clashing of two different styles. As you mentioned, Lucha Brothers, these very athletic, over the top, just flying brothers that just jump around, do so many fun, crazy things in the ring. FTR, the more traditional, old school pound and ground mentality and style of wrestling. So I think those opposites, as far as their presentation, it made for a really fun match, because it's great to see how FTR, how they're going to counter these two guys who are extremely athletic and can jump and fly all over the place, and they're just constantly on the ground standing there. And I love how they, cut the ring in half and bring one of the Lucha Brothers over to their side. And then how does the Lucha Brothers counter that? They once they can get away from them, they can start doing their own high flying maneuvering in the ring. So it's just the clash of the two styles. It actually works really well, because if it's like a Lucha Brothers versus the Young Bucks, you know what you're going to get. It's going to be two high flying tag teams going at it. But when you got the two opposite styles, I think that's what makes it really interesting. Now, this match per se, it didn't completely wowed me. I was happy to see it, but it didn't really oh my God, jaw dropping. That's one of the greatest tag matches ever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because, it's regular TV or cable TV. Maybe they were holding back a bit. They want to save it for maybe a true pay-per-view. But yeah, it didn't truly wow me. Oh my God, it's the greatest thing ever. So I don't know. That's kind of disappointed me just a little bit. But no, it was still very fun to see the two of them go out, and I anticipate more matches of them going at it down the road. But I think the big takeaway also was the end of the match, or after the match. So, you see Butcher and the Blade, they're standing outside, they're by the truck, they're teasing FTR that they got their keys to their truck. Young Bucks come out from behind the truck and attack Butcher and the Blade, and get the keys and give it back to FTR. And they're like, here you go, man. Here's your keys to your truck that they stole from you. And then we see Kenny Omega coming out with a styrofoam cooler full of beer, and almost as a peace offering to the week before when he turned down their beer offer, or a couple weeks ago, I should say. So Kenny brings out the beer, offers it to them, and then the FTR just dumps their beer all over Kenny Omega's head. And then Kenny Omega was getting pissed off and wanted to attack FTR. So, and Young Bucks jumped in and told him to cool off, back off. It's okay. Don't jump into this. So, Phil, what was your thoughts on just the Kenny Omega FTR clashing right there?
Well, it was the classic sign of, oh, you disrespected us. You want to offer a peace offering? Okay, we'll disrespect you right back. We don't want it. It was just that simple. But it was the predecessor for what we saw with Kenny Omega later on in the night after his match with the teaming with the Bucks and going up against Jurassic Express. Mm-hmm. And so the FTR they got to him, and the actions that Kenny Omega displayed after that match was a sign that, oh yeah, Hardwood and Wheeler, they really ticked him off.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So we saw them reject Kenny Omega's beer, and then also later on in the night, we see Hangman Adam Page at the bar. FTR comes in and they start drinking together. So I kind of wonder if FTR is going to be the reasoning that Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega break up. They're going to be the ones to kind of divide the two of them. And that's something we've been kind of seeing the last couple of weeks with FTR kind of getting in Omega and Hangman Page's business. So that's something I'm really going to be looking forward to moving forward, is how FTR is going to kind of spoil things. So that's going to be really interesting. And so, yeah, just keep an eye out for that. And then after that, we saw our buddy, friend of the show, Le Champion, Chris Jericho came out to the ring, and they were promoting. He had something to say, and sure enough, he came out, and it was pretty much two topics he got into. The first one was he actually got into the ratings and the demo for AEW versus NXT in the Wednesday Night Wars. Phil, your thoughts on just Jericho kind of going off on all that?
Well, I have to give praise to the demo god, Le Champion, Chris Jericho. Absolutely, the demographic is really important. 18 to 49, we're in that demographic, and those are the ones that truly care about, like you could say storylines and where certain guys are on the card and all that other stuff, and the hardcore fans. And I like that he got into that. If this were WWE, they would shy away from it. They wouldn't really address it.
Yeah.
AEW, they address it head on because that's a part of wrestlers having their own creative freedom in that company. I enjoyed that, and then of course he goes on to talk about how Orange Cassidy, the match he had with him was one of the best of his career, and that you'll never see it again because he beat him and he has no reason to wrestle him ever again.
Mm-hmm.
And so, they come out with like gallons of orange juice, and they didn't have a sip. He was accompanied, of course, by Hager and
Santana
and Ortiz. And they pour some out for Orange Cassidy, and he comes out. I didn't know he had his own theme music. It's kind of a banger. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie at all. And he's doing the Batista, the thumbs up and then the thumbs down, and oh my God, what a heinous act to drench Chris Jericho. What was it? That $9,000 jacket, blazer,
very expensive,
in orange juice.
Yes.
God, Jericho really does have a problem with citrus. I mean, Pineapple Pete. We hate that guy, and Orange Cassidy. I hate that guy too. Jesus.
I know it was very funny, that whole segment. Just Orange Cassidy giving the thumbs down, and there's like gallons and gallons of orange juice falls onto the members of the inner circle, and then even like there were actual oranges in there as well. Besides, so imagine that falling on their head as well. And I thought overall a very fun segment. I will say real quick about the rating stuff. It was interesting because at first I was kind of like, I don't know if I was like, wow, he's really bringing this up. Like they're really going at it. Like, even a couple weeks ago, MJF talking about, you guys want ratings, then that's why you booked me in the first match or something. So it's really like, I don't know if that's like a mission statement from AEW telling their roster, go out there when you have the chance, talk about the ratings and how we're beating them. Part of me was like, I don't care. Like, I don't necessarily care about hearing the ratings like that. It's like, just do your own thing. But then at the same time, I hope maybe, by explaining things like Chris Jericho did, it'll kind of open up people's minds about the business, how things work. So for me personally, working in the radio industry, everything he says, I totally understand. And it's stuff that I deal with personally in my work, as far as we look at ratings, but we go by our demographic. My radio station that I work at, our main demographic is men 25-54. That's the main one we look at. And then we also look at people, that's men and women 25-54 as well. And there are 18 to 49. There's all these different subcategories of ratings. So it's really interesting, these TV ratings, how Jericho explains it, breaks it down in the air. I'm used to it in my own version as far as like the radio side of things. And so I know for me, like, our station, we celebrate our success based on how well we do ratings wise within our key demo. So like, I totally understand and relate everything Jericho's saying. And so it's true. Like, we don't necessarily go by overall how many people are listening at a given moment. We go by just based our key demographic. So like I said, it's very interesting to hear Jericho talk about that. I personally can relate to it because of what I deal with in my line of work. And so just hopefully that'll open people's minds up a little bit, and just like kind of the importance of hitting demographic. And, next time we ever hang out with Jericho again, I would love to actually talk about him. Just, I totally understand everything he's coming from. So I guess it's kind of good just to remind people just how TV works and the rating system. But also, with this whole Orange Cassidy pouring down the orange juice, it looks like their rivalry is far from over. And so I'm just curious where it goes from here. It looks like it's going to be an ongoing thing. So, and this is, I think it's really fun for Chris. Just, he's not in the main event title scene right now. So this storyline with Orange Cassidy, it's going to be, I'm sure, a really fun segment. And then after that, he walked over to the broadcast table and started calling the second half of the show, which, by the way, we should mention that Taz was doing like the first hour. I guess Tony Schiavone, his test results didn't come back right away. Do you know anything about that, Philip?
Yeah. So what happened? Tony Schiavone is
Skivo.
a test. Skivone. His test results weren't back in time, so just to be safe, they had Taz do the first little bit, and then they had a soaked Jericho do the rest of the show. It had to be a very nice smell for Excalibur. Oh, by the way, happy birthday, Excalibur! Turned to the big 4-0 today.
Yeah.
It had to be a very nice smell for Excalibur and good old Jim Ross.
Yeah. Well, I love how at one point he said, this wouldn't be so bad if I had some vodka on me. I could pour into a glass and then I could squeeze out the juice in my jacket into the cup as well and mix it up. I was like, okay, we know, Chris likes his vodka and stuff. And so mix with a little orange juice. That's a good combo right there. Very tasty. But, next up was the Elite, which was, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega taking on Jurassic Express featuring Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, and Marco Stunt. Very fun match. I know it's all baby faces going at it, but nonetheless, it was a very entertaining, over-the-top match, high-flying, and it looked like they're all just having a lot of fun. I saw a lot of people comparing this. This is something you would see like down at PWG, as far as these over-the-top high spots and high-flying moves, but nonetheless, very fun. So, Phil, your take on this match between the two teams?
Well, yeah, man. This was my favorite match of the night. I thought FTR versus Lucha Bros was, but it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I loved it, man. I mean, Kenny Omega just giving that dragon suplex just to little Marco Stunt, just Marco landing on his head, and then Marco pulling out Canadian Destroyers and Super Hurricanrana Frankensteiners off the top rope onto Nick Jackson. It was all fun, man. But all in all, they get the win. Kenny Omega hits the one wing angel on Marco Stunt, and then he proceeds to attack him after the match. I'm like, oh yeah, turn him heel. Let's do it. I'd love a Kenny heel turn. Get the long black trench coat, those sinister shades, dye your hair chrome, get the chrome dome going again. Let's make it happen, baby.
So that's interesting. Yeah, I was very shocked to see him. Well, I guess keep in mind, so the first half of the match, he was wrestling in a shirt. And I guess that was a big thing. Like the commentary said, like, that's a sign that Kenny was trying to show some disrespect to like the other team. Like he wasn't taking them seriously, that he needed to take his shirt off. So I was like, okay, that's an interesting observation. And then once things started getting serious in the ring, he ripped his shirt off, and that's when he turned up, his intensity in the match. And yeah, poor Marco Stunt I was not totally surprised him eating the pin here, but yeah, that Canadian Destroyer he laid, outside. So I was going to ask you, which Canadian Destroyer did you enjoy? That one or the one last week with the 8-man tag with Ray Phoenix going outside? So it was two amazing Canadian Destroyers the last 2 weeks of AEW.
Well, as an honorary Canadian, I will say I enjoyed the Ray Phoenix one much better.
Okay. All right. Me too. I was just curious, but yeah. And so, yeah, Marco Stunt, I just love how Luchasaurus throwing him around or whatever. And was it Jericho who said it's like a father playing with their 5-year-old son, throwing him around, doing whatever you want. I was like laughing so hard, but I mean, apparently, Marco Stunt, to his credit, he goes out there and just takes a beating and bounces around and, just takes his bum. So, but the match itself, like I said, very fun. And as we alluded to earlier, we saw Hangman Adam Page in the back having a drink. FTR comes and joins him. And it's interesting, like I said, if FTR are trying to slowly kind of divide the two AEW tag champs, Adam Page and Kenny Omega. So that's going to be interesting moving forward. So who knows? Maybe FTR is trying to recruit other members to fill up their version of the Four Horsemen. That could be the other thing too. But I think what's going to happen, and this is something you and I talked about last week, is how do you eventually break up Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page? And I think we talked about this as far as I can easily see them losing the tag titles to FTR. They get upset and turn on each other. And I think right now it's really easy to say, oh, Hangman Adam Page out of the two is going to be the heel, just because he's the one that shows like the most tension in the group right now that we've been seeing on AEW for months now, as far as the one walking away, isolating himself from the rest of the Elite. But I think you and I both agree. I think it will make more sense, be more entertaining, shocking, if Kenny Omega is the one to turn heel and kind of going back to his cleaner days in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And that way, by doing so, you get this ultimate heat on Kenny Omega, and this could launch him into this huge singles run, give him that push that everyone finally wants to see. And that's something he even said in an interview, that's going to be the focus of the second year now of their time in AEW. And then that way you make Hangman Adam Page this new ultimate babyface. And I can easily see, I'm trying to think like, fantasy book down the road. Maybe Moxley finally loses it to Kenny Omega, and then Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page for the title. And then Hangman can eventually win it down the road. Because I think that's the main goal for AEW and all the EVPs. I think they want to make Hangman Adam Page like their top single star. I think that's been the plan all along. I think they know Kenny Omega, one of, if not the best wrestler in the world. But I think Hangman Adam Page, they really want to make him a star as well. So I can really see this, once it's their version of the Mega Power splitting, that eventually this can lead to Hangman Adam Page getting a big singles run. Is that something you see as well?
Yeah, absolutely, man. With the world title picture, looking at it in the long run, I would love Kenny to win it once he's a heel and a true heel. Mm-hmm. The cleaner. I want that. And Hangman Adam Page, let him be if you want to really wait that long, let Kenny have a nice reign with it. And then Hangman's the one to take it off of him. Mm-hmm. I think long time down the road, that's what you could do. But yeah, man, it's interesting where AEW is at right now with all their single stars, and including the world title picture. Because after what happened last night, I don't know where they're going to go next.
Yeah, and I can't wait to talk about the main event. We'll get to there shortly. But yeah, it's really interesting how Hangman Adam Page's character is going to keep progressing over the next few months, and how they really are going to create this future star, like this top baby face. And I think, like I said earlier, I saw online a lot of people comparing him. He could be like their version of Stone Cold, this lone wolf who's just a badass that just takes out all the baddies on his own. So I think that's something kind of cool that we can see in the near future. We also saw a quick backstage interview segment. Alex Marvez talking to the current AEW Women's Champion, Hikaru Shida, and pretty much just saying, hey, a lot of the top women contenders are all out with injuries right now. Therefore, Nyla Rose, technically, she's the one that's, available. Would you want to give her another title shot? And Shida said, yeah, she's down to defend that title against whoever. So I like Shida a lot. I totally like to see them go at it again. And I'm loving Shida's as the AEW Women's Champ. So looking to see more from her. And then next up, as you mentioned earlier, we saw the Nightmare Sisters, Brandy Rhodes and Allie, along with Dustin Rhodes in their corner, taking on a couple young upcomers, MJ Jenkins and Kenzie Page, in a fairly quick match. I don't know if there's not too much to say here. It was a quick match, but it was just more of just the tension afterwards.
As we like to say on the Bullet Cast, nobody got hurt. That's all we can ask for.
Yeah, that's very true. But yeah, after the match, so Brandy and Allie gets the win, and Allie was pissed that Dustin didn't raise her hand at first and said, hey, raise my hand in victory. And once he did, she gave this huge eye roll towards Brandy. So I don't know too much of the storyline. I guess this is something that's really been focused on AEW Dark. Unfortunately, I don't watch AEW Dark regularly, but apparently this has been an ongoing story. It just, Allie and her relationship with QT Marshall. QT Marshall, as you said, Philip, is a member of the Nightmare family, and everyone else is kind of really objecting her being around the group. And so I don't know about you. I guess these type of storylines that get more attention or focus on AEW Dark, I kind of wish maybe they would show a little more maybe video package or quick highlights of Dark, and maybe get us up to speed who don't watch AEW Dark regularly. Listen, I know they only got 2 hours a week to work with, so they got to focus on the main storylines. But I don't know. I feel like some of the stuff that takes place in AEW Dark maybe kind of catches up to speed, so we kind of know more what the storyline is. Absolutely.
I saw this WWE Fox. They put up a video, watch Raw in 3 minutes, and you can do stuff like that. Watch AEW Dynamite in 3 minutes, or I don't know why. You watch all of AEW Dynamite, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, yeah.
But like AEW Dark, watch it in 2 to 3 minutes. Do stuff like that, and you can throw highlights of it on AEW Dynamite throughout the show, and throw it on like Instagram, Twitter, whatever. Just to get it out there to let people know what's going on that show for people who don't watch it on a regular basis or anybody that doesn't watch it at all.
And that's the thing. I know for the longest time, we always would joke, man, WWE does so many like recap videos, but now looking back on it, those are actually kind of helpful because in case we miss something, they kind of catches up with just the highlights, the Cliff Note versions of these story beats. And so it kind of catches up to speed of what's going on and therefore why we should care about this current storyline taking place on TV. And so with that being said, the Nightmare Sister stuff, I watch this, I'm like, oh, okay, you see a little tension going on, but I don't know the full story. Like I say, don't watch AEW Dark. So if there was a way to catch us up to more speed, like I said, even if it's like picture in picture, maybe some quick highlights there, or like a montage video before their match. And that's something also I don't want to get into too much, but AEW, I kind of wish or miss, they don't do as many like backstage segments. Like they'll do some interviews like they did with, Hikaru Shida backstage. Like they'll do these backstage interviews, but not like a lot of backstage just segments or skits playing out. You know what I'm saying? Like just you see a couple wrestlers talking backstage. Like we saw a little bit like FTR and Adam Page talking while the match was going on. But like I'm just talking about pre-tape or live tape segments in between matches of just seeing wrestlers interact. Kind of like we saw Matt Hardy and Private Party in the bar, was it last month, that kind of started their friendship. I kind of want to see more of that. Just that way you get a little more character building. That's something I think AEW has kind of been lacking on lately. To their credit, they've been focusing more on just match after match after match, occasional backstage interview, match after match after match. So I don't know. That's something I kind of wish they would sprinkle in more, some of these more backstage segments to kind of just build more character building for their roster. And also, who knows? They probably do a lot. They do a lot of video stuff on their YouTube page. So maybe there's some stuff there we should be watching that kind of adds to the story. But as you know, there's so much wrestling every week now. It's a lot to keep track of. So for me personally, I just focus on the main shows. It's a lot to keep track of. And so after that, Dasha goes to the ring and has a in-ring interview with the native beast, Nyla Rose. And she herself also has a big announcement. So she comes out and Dasha just asks her, hey, what is it you want to announce to everyone? And she says, paraphrasing here, she doesn't want to say, or she says, I want to announce that she does have a new manager, but I want that person to come out for themselves and reveal themselves. And lo and behold, it was Vicky Guerrero coming out to the ring, friend of the show as well. Vicky Guerrero coming out, and she officially announced that she's going to be Nyla Rose's manager. So, Philip, thoughts on this new partnership here?
Excuse me! I loved it, dude. I absolutely loved it. Look, I hated Vicky Guerrero as a child, but like you really look at her career. She got Edge to multiple world titles. She got Dolph Ziggler an Intercontinental, a U.S. and a world title. Mm-hmm. She's the perfect person you want in your corner. I'm not going to call her the modern day Sherry Martel or anything like that, but she got guys to new levels, and so that's perfect for Nyla. Like if I were a wrestler, if I want a female manager, it's Vicky Guerrero all day, or a manager in general, it's Vicky Guerrero all day. So kudos to Nyla for picking up Vicky. And Vicky's dubstep theme song, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan.
I like it. It was like excuse me, like the beginning part right there. And also that was cool. Like her name at the bottom, the graphic says like, was it 15 plus years of experience in wrestling? But like Chris Jericho, who we all know, longtime friend of Eddie Guerrero, he said, dude, she has a lifetime growing up in the Guerrero family. So just because it says 15 years, that's a bit of a lie. She has a lot more experience just in the wrestling business in general, her whole life pretty much. So I love Chris kind of just paying tribute to that and acknowledging that. And the other thing too is I love during her, so she's talking about what she plans to do with Nyla Rose. Like pretty much did say she was going to reveal the strategy, but she did say, listen, she's got a lot of people to win championships. I did love at one point she did in her own way, say, whether it's lying, cheating, or stealing. She said it in her own way in those sentences. So obviously paying tribute to her late husband, Eddie Guerrero. That was one of his catchphrases, lying, cheating, stealing. So I thought it was very cool. She used those words in her last bit of sentences. So I was like, it's just very cool, just for us longtime fans, just connecting the dots to everything.
Hey, man, it still holds true. If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Yeah, so I'm very excited. And I think Vicky, she still has a lot to give to the wrestling business. And I'm just very happy for her. And like, real talk, she's such a sweetheart. We've interviewed her before in the past, but also hung out with her at Silicon Valley Comic Con last summer. And it was very fun hanging out with her. She was super sweet. I went up and introduced myself because when I talked to her, it was just on the phone. So when I went up and introduced myself, she was super happy, gave me a big hug. And like, I know she's being a heel manager right now, but hate to break kayfabe, but she's such an awesome person. I know she has a new book coming out as well. So, that someone maybe try to get an interview with as well. I think that'd be really cool. So, so happy for Vicky and just her back in the wrestling industry. And, yes, last but not least, Philip, was the main event, the AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley, the AEW champ, taking on the FTW champion, the Machine Brian Cage, with Taz in his corner. Main event time, championship match. Okay. Man, I'm trying to think how I want to get into this, because there's, I think, a lot to uncover here. So, yeah, Philip, initial thoughts on this match, and then we'll get into everything about it.
I mean, it was, it was a brawl for the most part. Cage, he kicked out of the paradigm shift. Nobody's done that in AEW yet, so I thought that was a nice touch for him to be the first person to do it. But spoiler alert, Moxley's still the champion. Mm-hmm. Taz, he made the smart decision and threw in the towel because he didn't want his client to be hurt in the long run. So he made that executive decision. Mm-hmm. So Cage, he let him survive. He let him survive.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. A lot to unpack here. So first things first, I thought it was just cool. Moxley coming out to the ring with the Danny Havoc shirt, just paying tribute to his friend who passed away within the last couple months. And also the match itself, it was hard hitting, both going at it. I really like seeing Moxley go after Brian Cage's, was it bicep? Because he had an injury there earlier this year. So from a strategy standpoint, and we saw even the video package earlier in the night of Moxley saying, like, okay, he might be a little bit too big for me to lift him up to do his paradigm shift, but I can still go after his arm, that recently injured arm, and go after attack that, rip it off the bone. And so we actually saw that throughout the match. Moxley kept attacking that arm. And I don't know about you, but every Moxley match goes outside to the like the seating area. So Brian Cage, Brody Lee, Hager, like it always goes outside the ring into the crowd, or where would the crowd be sitting? But this one, yeah, he takes Brian Cage outside. I love what he threw him on the fencing, the barricade up against the ring, and he suplexed him into that. Also, he put Brian Cage's arm through another barricade fence, and he kept stomping his bicep as well. So like I said, going after that arm injury that he had earlier this year, I think after he left Impact Wrestling, after he dropped the title and he was gone for months, he was actually recovering from that injury. And Taz, I think it was Taz, he said, that's what prevented him from coming sooner to AEW. So that was a big focal point in this match. Now, as you said, the match ended when Moxley had Brian Cage in a submission, armbar hold, and Taz threw in the towel. At first, I was like, okay, I can go with that finish. It's protecting Brian Cage. He didn't technically tap out, so technically someone else cost him the match. So you still kind of Brian Cage looks strong as far as he didn't actually quit. But then again, like, I slept on it. And then this morning, the more I thought about it, I kind of thought that was kind of a cheap finish for a couple of things. One, okay, since Brian Cage joined AEW back at Double or Nothing, he's been booked as this dominant monster. He won the Casino Battle Royal ladder match to become the number one contender in the first place. Every match he's been in, he's been squashing guys, tearing guys apart. But this match with with Moxley, I don't know about you, Phil, but I think Moxley got too much offense in. I kind of wish Brian Cage would have dominated the match more. How about you? Like, he's supposed to be this monster. I kind of was hoping Brian Cage would dominate more throughout this match.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, Mox has been on the shelf for a little bit due to quarantine or whatever, so I guess Cage didn't really think he was ready, but Mox was more ready than what Cage believed he was, so he was able to just get offense in and keep maintaining it. But yeah, it would have been very nice to see Brian Cage get a whole bunch of offense in on Moxley and really just dominate him, and then you could go to the armbar spot. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with it being a cheap finish, yeah, but if you have a clean finish, it's going to really hurt Cage. Build up all this time, and then he just loses. And then Moxley, you just get the championship off of him that quick. And I know AEW, they're not about stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this was the best option.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to think of different scenarios that could have maybe played out a little bit better, that kind of would have maybe pleased the fans. Because I've been seeing a lot of comments online. A lot of people were upset with this finish. And I was trying to think of, like, different scenarios. And, I mean, to AEW's credit, they've been booking Moxley very strong. Like, every person he's he's been going toe-to-toe with. And so, from that standpoint, it's like, that's cool. Like, he's beating up everyone. And you want to see that from a world champion. Also, he's the champion, and of course he's going to beat people. There's a lot of people complaining that AEW, they bring in all these big man monsters who dominate for a couple months, and then they put them in a big high profile match, and then they lose. And so people are saying they don't really know how to book a true monster. And part of that, to me, it's like, well, wait, what are you trying to say then? You're saying, do you want the world championship to be just hot potatoed around from person to person? I mean, like, that's how you build credible champions. Like, you look at Moxley's record so far. He's beaten Brian Cage, Brody Lee, Jake Hager, in these world title defenses. So for me, on paper, that's what makes Moxley a great world champion. He's beating all these guys being thrown at him. I just don't get. Listen, not everyone can win. I hate to say it. Every new shiny toy that comes into a promotion can't win the title right away. They can come in and help put someone else over. But does that make sense, Philip? I feel like a lot of people are complaining, they bring these monsters in, have them dominate, and then they lose at a big match. Well, it's like, what do you want them? You want them to win right away? Then you'll criticize the previous person that was a champion and be like, wow, that was a short title reign. That was a waste of time. No, that's how you make like a guy like Moxley look strong. He's beating all these big competitors being thrown at him. I mean, you get what I'm saying?
Who's out here complaining about this? Like, we're not going to hot shot titles. This isn't WCW 2000. We're not doing that here. We're not going to have 22 championship reigns for one title in like 1 year. We're not doing that. That's not what's happening.
Yeah.
We're building up Moxley. He's a credible champ,
by the way.
Thank you. I learned from Tommy.
Thank you. Yeah. I really remember that was like 20 something title changes that 1 year. But anyway, sorry not to cut you off.
Yeah, it goes like Kofi was beating a whole bunch of guys. Nobody complained about him beating all these guys. Why are you complaining about Moxley?
Drew McIntyre right now, he's been beating everyone thrown at him in the last couple months as WWE champion. Like, that's what you do to build up a credible champion, is you build up, like, look at Hogan in the 90s in WCW. Like, remember the stable, the monsters. Oh my God, where's Tommy when I need him? But Kevin Sullivan, the Dungeon of Doom, like, that whole faction was made just for Hogan to take out one by one. Like, they all came out him one by one, and he beat them all one at a time. Like, that's sometimes what you do in wrestling to build up a champion. You build up these heel monsters that come after them one by one, and you beat them, and then that way you make your champion this ultimate baby face. Like I just don't get these people who get mad. Like, they don't know how to book a monster. Well, they're not designed to win everything.
You know it's going to be great when Mox has been champion for like a year. Oh, it's too long, dude. Bruno was champion for 8 years.
Yeah.
Hogan was champion for like 3.5. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but Daniel Bryan a year and a half ago, he was right. The fans are fickle. Like, am I right? I mean, like, real talk, like
Fickle.
But it's true. Like, you can't, and that's the thing. Wrestling fans, in the last, decade or 5 years, whatever, in this social media world that we live in, everyone has a voice, and hey, that's cool. You can voice your opinion on social media, but you can't please everyone. That's what I've realized. Like, you gotta, stick to the plan, stick to your own ideas, what you want to do. But unfortunately, you can't please everyone. And that's the thing here. AEW, they have probably their own plan, what they want to do with Moxley's title reign and who's going to challenge him and take on him and eventually who he drops it to. With that being said, you can't please everyone. I mean, you can't listen to everyone's opinion because you'll never satisfy everyone. And that's what's kind of tough right now, I think. And anyone in a booking position, like you said, you can't please everyone. So for this situation, that's how you keep building Moxley as a strong champion. He takes out all these big baddies. Now, like I said, I was trying to think, well, what could have been maybe a better compromise from a booking standpoint where Brian Cage still looks like a badass, but still loses and Moxley retains. So I was thinking, well, maybe Brian Cage should have been maybe a little bit more dominant in the match, like beating him up throughout the match. Moxley maybe occasionally gets a comeback or two, but then maybe Moxley gets a quick roll up or something and sneaks out a victory. And then that way he retains. Brian Cage still looks like a monster because he dominated most of the match, kicking his ass. But just, one little dumb move cost him nits. And then maybe in frustration, Brian Cage just starts beating the crap out of him after some more. So I'm just saying fancy booking here. Moxley, let's say, gets a quick roll up, wins, retains, but Brian Cage is pissed off. He starts beating the crap out of him. And then, maybe they need like a bunch of security or something come out and pull him off just to really show how dominant he is. And when you piss him off, he's like the Incredible Hulk. It takes like a whole army to stop him. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because that's basically what happened after the match when Darby Allin made his return to the company. I miss Darby Allin, and his theme songs are great too.
Yeah.
They did the old ECW, the lights go out, oh my God, who's here? And then it's Darby Allin with the skateboard off the top rope to the head of Cage, and then everybody, all these officials and backstage personnel are trying to hold him back from getting at Darby Allin. So I guess that's where Cage is going to be going, moving on.
Yeah, and so I was thinking, like, hypothetically, let's say Brian Cage is upset that he lost, like Moxley outsmarted him and got this quick win. So Brian Cage goes on a tear and just starts beating the crap out of Moxley some more. That way you build up some heat on Brian Cage. Moxley's still champion and you feel sympathized for him getting his ass kicked like that. And then I was thinking, I think it was a little premature for Taz to give him the FTW championship. Maybe after this scenario played out, then like next week, Taz says, listen, I know you lost the match, but you still proved to the world that you're the baddest, mother effer out there. So to reward you, I want to give you the FTW championship. So is that kind of a cool, maybe alternative plan? So I was trying to think of how they could have maybe handled this better. So that way Brian Cage still looks like a badass. Moxley still retains, has another big victory under his, resume as current AEW champion. So that's what I was thinking as a compromise is next week, that's when Taz should present the FTW championship and then let Brian Cage go on a tear defending that title week to week, very similar like Cody, like open challenge style, and just beats up everyone. And then you keep building him up as this big monster. Then that way kind of everyone wins. Like I said, I'm just trying to think of a scenario that could have played out better than the one last night. Because I think a lot of people just were upset that it felt kind of cheap. And you build up Brian Cage as this huge heel monster, and just for the second there's a little struggle, Taz throws in the towel. And so therefore it kind of throws everything that had been building up out the window. So I totally understand the frustration amongst the fans. So like I said, I was trying to think of different ways this could have played out better. And as you said, Darby Allin came out and attack Brian Cage. And so kind of renews the rivalry that they kind of started back at the casino ladder match at Double or Nothing. So now it looks like moving forward, Moxley will go up on a different path now, a new contender. And Brian Cage will now go over, take on Darby Allin. Do you think Darby Allin's going to win the FTW championship at some point?
No, absolutely not.
So, but that's the thing. It's like Darby Allin, do you think he'll lose to Brian Cage down the road? Like, cause you just, like, I think they're really trying to build up Darby Allin as this, like, really anti-hero baby face. And so he just came back from being gone a month. Like, I don't know if they want to sacrifice him losing right out of the gates again. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a tough situation.
I mean, yeah, he's not going to beat Cage though. I just don't see it. I don't see it at all.
True. I hear you on that as well. So it's going to be interesting how this play out. So like I said, I'm trying to think from a more logical storytelling standpoint. And like I said, like initially I was okay with the finish for the main event, but then the more I thought about it, I thought it just kind of throws out everything out the window that they've been working on for the last couple months. And like I was thinking, what could have been some more alternative ways to please everyone. So we'll see moving forward how the guys in AEW can kind of maybe rebuild Brian Cage now after this. And here's the thing. They also said in commentary, you think about Brian Cage, I think it was Jim Ross, Brian Cage was out 5 months with the bicep injury. He's been back for barely 2 months. If Taz didn't throw in the towel and then Moxley theoretically kayfabe retore it, he'll be out for another 5 months. So hypothetically, in a year's time, he was out 10 months, only wrestled actual 2 months of it. So you're theoretically throwing out a year in the prime of his career. So I get it from that standpoint, the value of why he threw the towel in.
No, I understand it completely. I mean, I can relate to this. So I'm always throwing the towel in right now. Jesus, I can relate to this, man. We had I'm a wrestling coach, so we had a girl at a tournament. She hurt her back, and we were like, all right, we gotta take you out. I mean, she went on to advance to the tournament anyway, but we were thinking about the long term, exactly what Taz was doing there. So I completely relate to that 100%.
Yeah, so it's like I said, AEW, and this is something I kind of seen other wrestling journalists and podcasters, is I think it's some of the storylines, like I kind of want to see better logic for some of these AEW storylines. So that's something I hope AEW could kind of recover from, is kind of these storylines, the logic for their decision makes more sense and goes with everything they've been building up so far. And yeah, like I really want to see some of these storylines start progressing too. So it's going to be interesting to see where AEW goes from here. It's going to be also interesting just to see a regular episode of AEW Dynamite next week. We're so used to all these specialty versions of AEW Dynamite week to week. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. I still think AEW still has a lot of great momentum going right now. And I'm super excited to see what's next for them. So yeah, Philip, I think another fun show in the books from AEW.
No, yes, absolutely. You know, if Cody wants to buy some more trademarks, they can do AEW Dynamite ;sin. Yeah, let's do that.
Oh my God. But no, that's the other thing too. I think you and I talked about this last week, is theoretically AEW and even NXT, their pay-per-views are more like once a quarter. AEW does theirs like once every 3 months, and then NXT does TakeOver once every 3 months. So I'm all for kind of like these halfway points. So maybe like every 6 weeks they do like a specialty version of their like Wednesday night show to kind of spice things up. Kind of instead of AEW Dynamite, they add to it AEW's Fight for the Fall. And so I'm looking forward to the next one that they do. So I don't know what's official. Let's see, what will be next? Oh, they do have All Out coming up, right? End of August. So that's still going to happen. They didn't say a location. They just said a date. So my guess will probably still be in the same spot, right?
That's possibly. But have you noticed the last couple of weeks, more people have been there, like in the crowd area?
Yeah, well, even this week too, I saw more people with face masks on, which is the smart move, just from a real talk and real life situation going on. That, you know, the number of coronavirus cases going up in all the big states, so it's scary. Like, Come on, people. Philip, it's what you say. Wash your hands. Wash your ass.
Wash your hands, wash your face, wear your mask, wash your ass.
Exactly.
It's just that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, but if you look at, like, if you follow like certain indie promotions on social media, they're running actual shows now. Just face masks have to be worn, obviously.
Yeah, it was a Game Changer Wrestling out in like New Jersey and the East Coast.
Yeah, and then them and a couple promotions in the South. You know, they're running shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like it's supposed to be outdoors. Obviously, the social distancing. So like the either like cars pulled up or the seats are all spread out. And yeah, you gotta wear a mask. So it'd be interesting.
No, I've seen some in like regular buildings. You know, like how APW runs like the Bekele Event Center. You know,
yeah.
I've seen like that's been popping up recently. So I mean, you never know, man.
It'd be interesting, but yeah, I for All Out, I wouldn't be surprised to just keep it in Jacksonville where it's currently at. I mean, Florida has a lot of cases going up as well. Like, I just don't see a large size arena event happening soon. It's unfortunate. You see New Japan Pro Wrestling doing it, but no, here in America, like, there's still people breaking the rules, not wearing a mask, and like these cases keep piling up and more people are testing positive. So it's like, come on, people, be smart, stay inside, shelter in place, wash your hands, wear a mask if you do go out, social distancing. Come on. Like, the sooner we can all get on the same page and just follow the rules, and then therefore can reduce the number of cases, and that's the sooner we can like get back to our normally scheduled lives. It's not that hard. I know it's a little bit of inconvenience, but long term, it helps a long way. And so that way we can fight the coronavirus and put an end to it. Like, we need to. We want to get back to our normal daily lives of experiencing live shows like wrestling, all that stuff.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you look at Extreme Rules, the horror show. It's supposed to be in San Jose this Sunday.
I know. This week was supposed to be a lot of big concerts this week for me that I was supposed to go to this week, but yeah, isn't happening. So, but like I said, people, please wear your mask, be smart out there. The sooner we can all get on the same page, the sooner this coronavirus will go away and we can get back to like our regularly scheduled lives. So, all right, Philip, on that note, let's go home for the night. Where can the good people find you online?
My personal heel, Antwine, HEEL, Antwine, ANTWINE. Instagram and Twitter. Like I said, Facebook people. Some of you have sent me requests. It's just weird. Don't do it. I'm serious. Bulletcast on Twitter, The Bulletcast on Instagram, The Bulletcast on YouTube. If you want to email us questions, bulletcast2 as in the number 2 sweet swet@gmail.com. Also follow my other podcast, Complex Conversations, COMPLEXX. 2 X's, 3 is something very, very, very different. Yeah, that's on all podcasting platforms, and that's on Instagram and Twitter. And that's going to do it for me. Baby Huey, thank you for having me back on. I guess I'm a weekly edition now, we could say.
Yeah, I think so. You're my AEW correspondent.
Hey, man, I'm glad to do it. I'm glad to be here for the long run.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I appreciate this, man. You know, I've enjoyed our friendship over the last couple years, and thank you for having me on your platform. I really do appreciate this, man. I love it.
You're welcome. Like I said, you're a hard worker. I see a lot of myself in you, you know, just putting the hustle out there. So respect to that. So, no, just keep it up. And, you know, for me, it's all about paying it forward as well. Like, real talk. It's all about that. Like, you see someone hustling, if there's a way to like pass down anything I learned or use my resources to help out the next generation of any way I can, that's what it's all about, paying it forward. But before I forget, I'm sorry I missed this last week, but yes, listen to the Bulletcast, subscribe to the Bulletcast on your favorite podcast platform. This week, Brandon was was leading the charge this week, so please listen. I love him answered my fan question, just explaining how awesome Stone Cold Steve Austin is.
You see what it was. I'm Vince all the time, and he plays the role of Trips. I thought we'd reverse it. I thought we'd reverse it this week. That's honestly what it was. But
no, I was just gonna say, Brandon, one thing you gotta mention, like one of the big reasons why Stone Cold Steve Austin is so awesome. He said a lot of great valuable points, and for everyone listening right now, listen to the Bullcast to hear what what Brandon had to say. But the big thing as well, keep in mind, Stone Cold beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania 14. That's like one of his biggest victories ever. So I'm just saying, Brandon forgot to mention that. Also, just because the other thing too, he got to kick his boss's ass for years. Like, how many of us who go to work and maybe have like a terrible boss, like, we could relate to Stone Cold. He was able to do stuff that we could not do, that we dreamed about doing, kicking your boss's ass. So that's something, Brandon, if you're listening, remember that. That's like, for me growing up, in middle school and high school, watching Stone Cold in his prime years, I love seeing Stone Cold beat up Vince McMahon. Like, for me in school, of course there were teachers I didn't like. I wish I could do what Stone Cold did, but I couldn't. So anyway, Stone Cold, that's what made him so special. Like, just a regular common, he was relatable to the common man out there, the common people out there. So, all right. Also, before I forget, I didn't mention this last week. Yes, Philip, you were also a guest appearance on the Rudos podcast. Was it last week? So, check out Rudos podcast. Dude, great. You got the belt in your lap right now on your shoulder. But yeah, Rudos podcast, another good brother, does an amazing work as well. And so yeah, look up Rudos podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Also on YouTube, right?
Yeah, that's where it was. Jay, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you, brother. And lastly, Bulletcast predictions for the championship. Huey's in on it. I'm defending it. Brandon is in on it as always. He wants the title back. We're releasing our recap of that late Sunday night, early Monday morning. You don't want to miss it. I'm keeping my championship. Diamonds are forever, and so is the microphone Messiah.
I love that. Yeah, no, Jay, like I said, he does great stuff with the Rudos podcast, so follow them as well. We got a lot of great podcasts in the Bay Area, wrestling podcasts. So maybe I was thinking down the road doing maybe a round table with all these great shows. Like, we're all in one room. Well, I don't know if we can right now with the pandemic, but at some point it'd be kind of cool to get a big group round table discussion or something, kind of everyone, on the same page meeting up. So that we'll figure something out. And I'm Baby Huey. Follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Facebook at Baby Huey Official, Twitter and Instagram at Baby Huey 83. For everything In The Kliq, just follow us Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at In The Kliq. Also YouTube, subscribe to In The Kliq's YouTube channel. Got all of our segments up there, so please take a listen. And please share all of our episodes. We appreciate all the love and support from all you Kliqsters out there. I can't thank you enough. It's just me kind of by myself behind the scenes, editing, getting all this stuff out there. So any support that you guys, Philip, thank you for always resharing, retweeting, reposting on Instagram, all the stuff that we've been doing thus far. It's, like I said, it's a one-man show. I'm trying to get all this stuff out there as fast as I can to you guys every day, working on this on my downtime, personal time. And, subscribe to In The Kliq, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. If there's a platform out there that we're not on, please email me, inthekliq@gmail.com. A lot of good stuff coming your way very soon. Have an awesome rest of the week, and we'll catch you for the next AEW Dynamite review. And on that note, that's the bottom line, because Huey said so.